First contact fallout. The anomaly appeared on Monitor Station Epsilon's deep space sensors at 3:47 a.m. Earth Standard Time. Dr. Amara Okafor had been halfway through her fourth cup of coffee when the alert sounded. Working the graveyard shift at the International Space Agency's monitoring outpost wasn't glamorous, but as one of Earth's foremost xenolinguists, she'd insisted on being here. "What have we got?" she asked, sliding her chair across to the main terminal where red warning indicators flashed insistently. Junior Technician Rivera looked up, his face pale in the blue glow of his screen. "Multiple objects decelerating at the edge of our solar system. They're big, Doctor. And they're not natural." Amara's heart raced as she studied the incoming data. After decades of searching the stars for signs of intelligent life, the evidence was suddenly overwhelming. 8 massive objects, each larger than anything humans had ever constructed in space, were approaching Earth in perfect formation. "Get me Commander Reyes," she said, her voice steadier than she felt, "and activate Protocol First Light." Across the globe, military leaders were roused from sleep. Government officials were rushed to secure facilities. For decades, humanity had debated how first contact with alien life might unfold. Now they would find out. Commander Elena Reyes arrived at the White House Situation Room still wearing her flight suit. As head of Earth's newly formed Space Defense Initiative, she'd been running simulations when the call came. She hadn't bothered changing. "What do we know?" President Harlow asked as soon as Reyes entered. The room was filled with anxious faces, military brass, intelligence directors, and key scientific advisors. 8 vessels of unknown origin have entered our solar system, Reyes reported, bringing up holographic projections of the sensor data. They're currently holding position just beyond Mars' orbit. Size estimates put each ship at roughly 3 kilometers in length. "Have they made contact?" the Chinese premier asked through a translator. "Not exactly," Reyes said, gesturing to Dr. Okafor, who had joined remotely. "They're broadcasting," Amara explained. "Not directly to us, but between their ships. We've intercepted their communications, and they're not encrypting them. Either they don't care if we listen in, or they don't think we can understand." "And can we?" the president asked. "Partially," Amara replied. "Their language structure is complex, but their mathematical base appears universal. My team has managed to translate about 30% of their communications. They call themselves the Nexari Collective. From what we can tell, they'd been observing Earth for at least a century." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "What do they want?" The Russian defense minister's voice cut through the tension. "Based on the communications we've decoded, they're here to claim Earth as a colony world," Amara said grimly. "They refer to us as a pre-integration species, one that hasn't achieved sufficient technological advancement to be considered equal partners in their collective. In other words," Reyes added, "they see us as primitives ripe for conquest." "What are our options?" President Harlow asked, looking around the room. General Ibrahim Karimi, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, cleared his throat. "From a military perspective, our options are limited. If their technology is advanced enough for interstellar travel, our conventional weapons will likely be ineffective." "Actually," Reyes interjected, "that may not be entirely true." All eyes turned to her. "Project Aegis," she said simply. President Harlow frowned. "That's still experimental." "It's our best shot," Reyes insisted. "For the past decade, the Space Defense Initiative has been reverse engineering technology recovered from the Siberian impact site in 2032. We've managed to adapt several key components, including energy shielding and gravity manipulation. You're telling me we have alien technology?" the British Prime Minister asked incredulously. "Not exactly," Reyes explained. "The Siberian object wasn't a ship, more like a probe or sentinel, but its technology was far beyond ours. We've kept the program classified at the highest levels while we work to understand it." "And now?" President Harlow asked. "Now we have 12 orbital platforms equipped with shield generators and gravitational lensing technology. They won't stop a determined attack, but they might give us a fighting chance. Enough time to negotiate, at least. Before the discussion could continue, Dr. Okafor's voice cut in urgently. They're moving. All 8 ships have changed course. They're heading directly for Earth. Within hours, the alien ships had established orbit around Earth, positioning themselves strategically over major population centers. Global communication networks were suddenly flooded with a broadcast in every language. The being on screens worldwide had an unsettling appearance, humanoid, but with iridescent blue skin stretched over an elongated skull. 4 amber eyes blinked asynchronously as it spoke. People of Earth, I am High Commander Jen Terry of the Nexeri Collective. Your world has been selected for integration into our galactic community. Resistance is unnecessary and would only result in regrettable losses. Your leaders have 6 Earth rotations to surrender governance to our Integration Council. We bring order, advancement, and protection. Accept these gifts with gratitude. The message repeated once, then screens worldwide returned to normal, leaving billions in panic and confusion. In emergency sessions worldwide, Earth's leaders debated their response. Some nations advocated immediate surrender, hoping for lenient treatment. Others called for unified resistance, regardless of the technological disparity. Commander Rice addressed the emergency UN session directly. The Nexeri have shown their hand, she said. They expect us to capitulate without a fight. That tells me they're either supremely confident or they're bluffing. Either way, I believe we should activate the Aegis platforms immediately and risk provoking them. The French delegate demanded. We should at least attempt diplomacy. I agree with both approaches, President Harlow said, stepping to the podium. We will activate our defenses as a precaution, but we will also establish communication and attempt to negotiate. Earth's response was transmitted 6 hours later, requesting a diplomatic meeting and expressing hope for peaceful relations, while firmly asserting humanity's right to self-determination. The Nexeri's answer came swiftly. Your request for dialogue demonstrates your species' limited understanding. High Commander Jen Terry's message began. The integration process is non-negotiable. Your continued technological development without proper oversight poses an unacceptable risk to galactic stability. To demonstrate our resolve, we will now neutralize your primitive orbital constructs. Moments later, energy beams lanced down from 3 Nexeri vessels, targeting the International Space Station and several communication satellites. But something unexpected happened. The beams struck invisible barriers, dissipating in spectacular displays of blue-white energy. Project Aegis had been activated just in time, its shield generators creating protective bubbles around Earth's critical orbital infrastructure. On the bridge of the Nexeri command vessel, High Commander Jen Terry stood motionless, all 4 eyes fixed on the tactical display. Impossible, he whispered. Scan those shields. Where did they get this technology? His science officer worked frantically at her console. The energy signature matches Arcosian defensive systems, Commander. But the Arcosians have been extinct for millennia. Jen Terry's secondary eyes narrowed to slits. It seems we have underestimated these humans. He turned to his tactical officer. Prepare precision strikes on their shield generators. Used full-spectrum disruptors. Back on Earth, Commander Reyes watched from Space Defense Initiative headquarters as the Nexeri launched their second attack. This time, their weapons were more focused, targeting the hidden Aegis platforms directly. Shields holding at 87%, her tactical officer reported. But they're adapting quickly. They've already identified 3 of our platforms. Reyes nodded grimly. Activate countermeasures. And get me Dr. Wong. Dr. Marcus Wong had been the lead scientist on Project Aegis, spending years unlocking the secrets of the Siberian artifact. When his face appeared on screen, he looked haggard but determined. Please tell me you've got good news, Marcus, Reyes said. The gravitational lensing system is online, he confirmed, but it's untested at full scale. If we deploy it now, we don't have a choice. Rais cut in. The shields won't hold forever. Wang nodded. I'm initiating the sequence now. God help us all. Across Earth's orbit, the Aegis platforms began emitting invisible waves of gravitational distortion, bending space itself around the Nexari vessels. The alien ships suddenly found their weapons fire curving away from intended targets, their sensors showing phantom images, their communications distorted beyond recognition. On the Nexari command ship, alarms blared as systems failed across the board. What is happening? Terry demanded. Some kind of gravitational weapon, his science officer reported, voice trembling. They're manipulating local spacetime. Our targeting systems can't compensate. For the first time in his long career, Terry felt a flutter of uncertainty. The Nexari collective had integrated hundreds of worlds, most without firing a shot. Those few who resisted had been quickly overwhelmed by superior technology and numbers. But these humans, these supposedly primitive beings, had somehow deployed technology that rivaled that of the ancient spacefaring races. Recall all attack vessels, he ordered. Maintain high orbit and recalibrate our systems. We will need a new approach for these humans. As the Nexari ships withdrew to a higher orbit, cheers erupted in command centers across Earth. But Commander Rice didn't join the celebration. She knew this was only the beginning. They'll be back, she told President Harlow in a private communication. And next time, they'll be prepared for our defenses. Then we better be prepared too, the President replied. Whatever it takes. The human contingency. 3 days after the first Nexari attack, Earth remained in a state of uneasy calm. The alien ships maintained their positions in high orbit, occasionally launching small probes that tested Earth's defensive perimeter, but taking no aggressive action. Behind the scenes, humanity was mobilizing on an unprecedented scale. Ancient rivalries and geopolitical tensions were set aside as nations pooled their resources, knowledge, and military capabilities. For the first time in history, Earth was truly united against an external threat. At a secure underground facility beneath the Himalayas, Commander Elena Reyes addressed the newly formed Earth Defense Council, a body comprising military leaders and scientific experts from every major nation. The Nexari are regrouping, she began without preamble. Our intelligence suggests they've called for reinforcements. Long-range sensors have detected at least 12 more ships entering the solar system. Murmurs of concern rippled through the assembly. The gravitational lensing technology gave us an edge they weren't expecting, Rice continued, but they're adaptive. By now, they've likely developed countermeasures. We need something new. Dr. Marcus Wong stepped forward. Though he'd barely slept in days, his eyes were bright with excitement. I believe we have that something, he said. Project Phoenix. Holographic schematics materialized above the central table, showing what appeared to be a network of satellites unlike the Aegis platforms. While Aegis was developed from the defensive systems we recovered, Phoenix is based on something else entirely, Wong explained. Hidden within the Siberian artifact was a secondary system, one designed not for protection, but for communication. Communication with whom? General Karimi asked skeptically. Not whom, but what, Wong replied. The system appears designed to interact directly with quantum fields, the fundamental fabric of reality itself. I'm afraid you've lost me, Doctor, the Russian representative said. Wong smiled apologetically. In simple terms, we've discovered a way to influence matter at its most basic level. The Phoenix network can generate a field that temporarily alters the universal constants within a defined area of space. And in less simple terms, Rice prompted, we can create a bubble in which the laws of physics become negotiable, Wong said. Inside this bubble, we can selectively modify how electromagnetic forces propagate, how gravity behaves, even how energy transforms. The implications stunned the assembly into silence. Have you tested this? President Harlow finally asked. On a small scale, yes, Wong confirmed. We've created fields large enough to encompass a laboratory. The results have been consistent with our theories. But deploying it at a scale large enough to affect Nexari ships would require the entire network operating in perfect synchronization. And the risks? Rise asked. Wang's expression grew serious. Considerable. If the field becomes unstable, the effects could cascade unpredictably. In the worst case, we might create a runaway reaction that could tear apart a significant portion of near-Earth space, including our own defenses, Rise noted grimly. Yes, Wang admitted. It's a last resort, Commander. But it may be our only option if the Nexari launch a full-scale attack. The Council voted unanimously to accelerate deployment of the Phoenix network while continuing diplomatic efforts. But time was running out. 5 days after first contact, the reinforcements arrived. 20 Nexari vessels now orbited Earth, their weapons systems constantly probing for weaknesses in the Aegis shields. High Commander Gentari had spent those 5 days in deep consultation with the collective's central intelligence. Never in recorded history had a pre-spacefaring civilization displayed such advanced defensive capabilities. The collective now classified humanity as a Level 4 threat, a designation previously reserved for established interstellar powers. Their communications revealed division and uncertainty, his intelligence officer reported. Many still favor surrender. If we strike decisively, their unity will fracture. Gentari considered this. Prepare the integration force, he ordered. Target their command centers and defensive installations simultaneously. No warnings this time. The attack began at dawn over the Pacific. Thousands of small craft deployed from the Nexari ships, punching through the weakened Aegis shields and streaking toward Earth's surface. Simultaneously, energy weapons targeted military installations worldwide. Earth's conventional forces responded immediately. Fighter jets scrambled to intercept the alien craft while ground-based defense systems fired continuously into the sky. Despite their technological disadvantage, human pilots proved remarkably effective, using unconventional tactics that the Nexari struggled to counter. At SDI headquarters, Commander Rais watched the battle unfold with growing concern. The Aegis shields were failing faster than expected, and the Phoenix network wasn't yet fully operational. We need more time, Dr. Wang insisted, his fingers flying over his console as he made final adjustments to the system. We're out of time, Marcus, Rais replied. The Nexari have landed forces in 17 locations. If they establish ground control... 60 seconds, Wang interrupted. That's all I need. The network is at 94% synchronization. Rais made her decision. All units, this is Commander Reyes. Fall back to secondary positions. I repeat, fall back to secondary positions. Operation Phoenix is commencing in 60 seconds. Across the battlefield, Earth forces executed a coordinated withdrawal, pulling back from engagement with the Nexari. The alien commanders, interpreting this as a sign of imminent surrender, pressed their advantage, consolidating their forces for what they believed would be the final push. Phoenix network synchronized, Wang announced. Ready on your command. Rais took a deep breath. Initiate Phoenix protocol. Target all Nexari vessels and ground forces. Throughout Earth orbit, the Phoenix satellites activated simultaneously, generating an invisible field that expanded to encompass the battle zone. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, one by one, Nexari systems began to fail. On the Nexari command ship, panic erupted as weapons went offline, artificial gravity failed, and life support systems began fluctuating wildly. What is happening? Gentari demanded, floating free of his command chair in the suddenly weightless environment. Unknown energy field detected, his science officer reported frantically. It's altering subatomic interactions, changing how our technology functions. In Earth's atmosphere, Nexari attack craft suddenly lost power, plummeting from the sky. Those that managed to maintain altitude found their weapons inoperable, firing harmlessly into the air when triggered. Ground forces fared no better. Nexari battle suits, designed to protect against conventional weapons, became rigid and immobile as the exotic materials in their construction responded unpredictably to the altered physical laws. "The field is stable," Wang reported, his voice filled with wonder. "We're successfully modifying physical constants within the target zone." Rice didn't waste the opportunity. "All units, engage Nexuri forces. Their technology is compromised. Repeat, their technology is compromised." Earth's military forces surged forward, now facing an enemy stripped of their technological advantages. The battle quickly turned in humanity's favor as the Nexuri, unaccustomed to combat without their advanced systems, fell into disarray. On the command ship, Genteri made the most difficult decision of his career. "Initiate emergency translocation," he ordered. "All vessels, withdraw immediately." One by one, the surviving Nexuri ships activated their emergency drives, pulling away from Earth orbit despite the disruptive effects of the Phoenix field. As they retreated, Genteri opened a final communication channel to Earth. "This conflict is suspended," he announced, his voice lacking its former arrogance. "The Nexuri Collective acknowledges humanity's right to self-determination. We will withdraw from your system pending further diplomatic consultation." In the aftermath, as humanity assessed the damage and celebrated their unexpected victory, Commander Reyes met with President Harlow to discuss Earth's response. "They'll be back," Reyes said. "Maybe not next year or even next decade, but they will return." "Then we'll be ready," Harlow replied. "The Phoenix technology gives us leverage we never expected to have. And more importantly, the world is united now." 1 week later, a formal message was transmitted toward the retreating Nexuri fleet. "By unanimous decision of Earth's nations, all Nexuri vessels are hereby banned from entering Terran space. Any violation of this directive will be met with immediate defensive action. Earth is not your colony. Earth is not yours to integrate. Remember this day, the day you learn that humanity will not be conquered." As the message traveled through space, engineers worldwide began work on humanity's first true interstellar vessels. The Nexuri had awakened something in humanity, a determination to take their place among the stars, not as subjects of an alien collective, but as architects of their own destiny. Far beyond Neptune's orbit, High Commander Genteri received Earth's message. For the first time in his long life, he felt something approaching respect for a species he had previously dismissed as primitive. The humans had not only survived first contact with the collective, they had forced it to retreat. "Update the collective archives," he instructed his communications officer. "Classification: Earth. Status: sovereign space. Threat assessment: maximum. Additional note: approach with extreme caution. These humans are unlike any species we have encountered before." As the Nexuri fleet disappeared into deep space, Earth continued its preparations. The age of isolation was over. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy not with tentative exploration, but with defiant victory. The stars would never look quite the same again.